Wisdom is the fountain of life, Murdo MacDonald-Bayne. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, not so the minds of fools. Proverbs 15:7. Electricity must exist first before we can have electric lights. We see the light but fail to realize that light could not be, if electricity did not exist first. What we know about electricity even now with our vast modern knowledge on the subject is but a fraction of what can yet be known about it. Light is the manifestation of electricity, just as man is the manifestation of life. As there is but one electric power behind all the lights in the city, so there is but one life behind all mankind. There can be no flaw in the life just as there can be no flaw in the electricity, so the real in man is the life, just as the real in the light is the electricity. Few ever think of this truth because they are caught up in their own conditioning, which prevents understanding. Electricity is not affected when the globe breaks or the motor goes out of order. Neither is life affected when the body is out of order. The consciousness in man is not the result of evolution, nor is it reaction to things external. It is the essential awareness of life itself. Man is essentially spiritual and is now in reality. This is his true nature. But he does not realize it because he fails to discern what is false. Now, we know that matter in itself is powerless, and we know that matter is ether modified, and ether is mind substance modified. Thought enters into mind substance and is outpictured in form, first in mind substance, then in ether, and finally in matter. In other words, our thoughts become objectified in the physical. Thought can arise from our reaction to the external and can create havoc in our lives when we do not understand how it originates. When our thought is reproduced in our bodies and environment, we become anxious because we do not know the cause. In the world today, people are following the tradition of the past without thinking for themselves, therefore repeating the errors of the past and religiously holding on to them. We wrangle and fight over our various beliefs, so the world goes on suffering the result. It is only when we realize that we are the world and we ourselves are the cause of our suffering do we begin to think for ourselves and see the false which man himself has created. When we look into the matter freely, without prejudice, we realize that all our struggle is over our beliefs in one thing or another, whether it is religious, political, or material. It is a matter of belief. Now, when the beliefs cause all this struggle, would it not be a wise thing to see what a belief really is, so that we can then discard this slavery? Beliefs which make man blind to his relationship with his fellow men are very strong. Man, being ignorant of the true state of his being, is led by leaders who are caught up in similar beliefs, so man follows like sheep to the slaughter because he will not discern the false. Man lacks the true understanding of the true fundamentals of life, which is love and wisdom, only because he will not discern the false. When all the carnage of death and misery dies down, the victors think they can help the vanquished by sending them food and clothes. But does this fill the empty hearts? The world can only be helped out of the misery by knowing the cause of the misery. People are looking for a great leader that will lead them out of their misery. Why do we want a leader? Is it not because we are confused and do not know the way ourselves? Is it not because we are ignorant that we want a leader? If we knew, we would not need a leader, and it is because we do not know that we want to be led. The Christ is the true man, and he can only be realized when the false is understood. Man will kill his brother and himself before he will give up the slavery of belief. Belief in a disease of the body will not be given up until man destroys the body, even though he knows that fighting it will bring about his destruction. A belief is a disease like any other disease. It separates man from man and man from God. Man puts his confidence in his leaders steeped in error, as he is himself steeped in error. The blind lead the blind, and they all fall into the slough. There is the leader and the follower. Is not this inequality the result of ignorance? Does not the division of man deny the real? Is not this domination and submission of man the outcome of ignorance and thoughtlessness? Is not our social structure built upon division, the one who is supposed to know and the one who is not supposed to know? This social pattern breeds endless opposition and sets man against man, and there is no end to the conflict within this pattern, and only when thought-feeling transcends this total ignorance will man find the way to freedom for himself. In ignorance we live in a competitive mentality, we try to grasp reality through accomplishment, we create the high and the low, the leader and the follower, we think of reality as a reward for righteousness, we think it can be attained through time, and we maintain a constant division, the high and the low, the successful and the failures, etc., etc. The wise do not think of men in terms of division, the foolish are caught up in the social and religious division of man, but those who are conscious of this division know it to be false and stupid, and therefore it drops from them. The wise see that the misery in the world is caused by division of man into various groups, the ignorant perpetuate this misery. We must be aware of this division of man in all planes of existence, religious, national, social, political and material. The division of man in any sphere is the result of ignorance, which breeds dependence and fear. Fear prevents understanding and puts an end to communion, to true relationship. It is a living death. Is it not a fact that you turn to others for guidance because of your inward poverty? You turn to books, to pictures, to leaders to strengthen you. Yet you are ever in hunger, ever seeking, but never finding. In the creative being of reality alone is there the cessation of conflict and sorrow, and reality comes into being when we have discerned all that is false. But separation and strife will ever be maintained as long as there is a becoming. This craving to become is born of ignorance, for the present is the eternal. The ever-present is the only reality, only in the oneness of reality is there completeness. This is creative being, and there is no other but the one. Only in right means can reality be discovered, for the means is the end. The means and the end are inseparable, wrong means will never end in right means. Only through self-knowledge is there the discovery of the 𝗤𝗏. It does not lie through another. No one can lead you to it, none can deliver you from your own sorrow. The authority of another is binding, only in utter freedom from all authority, from all that is false is the supreme to be found. To be free we must live in time, timelessly. Then the divine man will appear, for he is here now in the ever-present life through which the infinite is operating. It is only when we understand the false do we realize the perfect spiritual state of man. It comes forth of its own free will when there is no hindrance through separation in man's mind. Made in the image and likeness of God we are as we really are. We free ourselves through the recognition of this truth, for when we discern all limitation, all separation, all sickness, all burdens, they fall away from us, they are of man's own creation. Take hold of the tree of life and it will be a spring of living water rising up to eternal life. Personalities are but the projection of man himself and are not real. The Master said, I am the life, the Father and I are one. It is the Father who ever remaineth within me, he is performing his own deeds. The Master showed to mankind by example, man's divinity and eternal existence in the ever-present life. It is life alone in each one of us that lives, this is the one life, and life is God. Then let us be silent before the Almighty and we will create no more sorrow and conflict, for wisdom is the fountain of life. Put not your trust in princes, in a son of man, in whom there is no help. When his breath departs he returns to his earth, on that very day his plans perish. Psalm 146, 3-4. Benediction. O eternal ever-present one, thou art alone living and loving and there is none other but thee. All live because thy life lives in them. At first I was blind to thy presence and looked outside for guidance. In my ignorance I followed a belief created by man and kindled by hate. Yet I found others with different beliefs which separated man from man and was confused. It was only when I saw the falseness of all beliefs made by man did I find thee, O beloved one. Now I am free, for I know that we are one and I am one with all. To love my neighbor as myself is to live in thee. In my freedom I have found joy and peace beyond understanding through thy love, O blessed eternal one. My peace and my love remain with you. Yours very sincerely, Murdo MacDonald-Bayne.